Good morning, folks. Good afternoon for some of you guys as well. So, again, the standard DFS form these days. We got NBA, we got 2 slates of baseball, and we'd love to talk more NFL projections for next week. So, we're going to do the day slate today. It's kind of a members-only / public video for everybody. We're going to give it just a real quick overview on it. For all paying customers, the write-up will be out this afternoon, just kind of like standard.
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen, but after we made that football video yesterday, it's like all I could stop. It's all I could think about all night.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I'm completely with you. So, things of note for the opening slate, guys. These are all 7-inning games. It says it right here on the top. All games in this game set are scheduled for 7 innings as they each of the first game of a doubleheader. There is no change to scoring, and we will match official MLB stats. Boom. You don't have to try to dissect the difference between the games, which is nice. You check out your roster report for the day as far as weather. We got some wind blowing out. We have no rain issues today, which makes things much, much easier.
Yeah, the only thing that doesn't make this slate easy is there's only really one pitcher you feel like rostering.
This is true. Pitching is horrendous on this slate. It is set up for offense. What do you project Castillo's ownership to be? Like 99% or 100%?
Somewhere around there. And, man, I'll say, like, Castillo has not been great this year. Like, he's by far the best pitcher on the slate. Like, there's no question about that. Even how he's pitched so far this year would make him the star of this slate. However, you made this call the last time out, or maybe it was the time before that when they faced Milwaukee. I can't remember, but he just really hasn't been great this year, and that's just the truth.
No, he has not been himself. And the 4.1 ERA, if you just look at it as a glance, is actually fine. It's, similar to league average, give or take. But the 0-5 record and the whip at 1.5 actually screams regression from that ERA. The thing that he has saving him is he has high strikeouts. He's also going up against one of the weakest teams in baseball today. So you just assume his ownership is going to be well over 90% today.
Yeah, so the other problem is, and we haven't talked about this much this year, I haven't made this point that much, but it's not that I love Castillo here, but good luck picking 2 other pitchers on this slate to play, as opposed to just one with Castillo.
There is a legitimate real chance that none of the other pitchers score double digits today. And that's not hyperbole either. Like, that is legitimately real today. I don't know if I would bet on it. There's a good chance, somebody works their way into, 10 plus points. But if nobody scores over 10 today, these are low strikeout pitchers. None of them are good. The only guy that's even up on the slate that you would consider mediocre, I guess Rourke and Cobb are both in that mediocre range. They've had their ups and downs. Rourke has been struggling. Cobb isn't striking anybody out. Honestly, at this point of the day, I'm looking at King at 4K as my SP2.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, to your point about none of them getting 10 points is like spot on. The only one averaging over 10 points is Malone.
And Malone's trash. He just happened to have a good couple starts early in the year, and now he's completely come back down to earth.
Yeah, so I'm with you. Definitely looking at King a little bit too. There's just no pitcher you really feel comfortable with. I mean, the thing that you feel good about, like Roark and Cobb, is at least like they're starters, and like we've seen them pitch good games before, right? Like King could go 2 innings, and that's all you need at 4K or on this slate. But that's the only reason I'm looking at like the Roark and Cobbs of the world.
Yeah, I'll say this about Tanner Roark. Like, he's actually a number 3 pitcher in baseball, right? Like a very mediocre, maybe even slightly above mediocre pitcher. He's not a high strikeout guy. He has 2 decent starts this year. So if I was going to use a higher price SP2, I'd probably go with Rourke. But now we're at like sub 4K. The difference now, if I use King, and again, what's the point discrepancy here? Maybe 5. I'm now at like 4,600, 4,500 per offensive guy. And I can load up on studs on the slate. And there are studs that I really want to roster. And King is not great by any stretch of the imagination. He does strike decent number of guys out. He is pitching about 3 pitches or 3 innings per clip. Unlike a lot of these guys, he's actually been positive numbers every time he's gone out there this year, which is something.
Which is something for sure.
And his whip actually calls for that ERA to go down.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting one in that the pitching options are just so bad.
All right, so if you were going to pay up, because I don't even consider Austin Voth a thing, Cobb, Rourke, or Malone, which one would you use?
So Man, that's such a tough one. So, okay, I know what I was going to say, so this will kind of help me answer. Roark, it's funny. I don't disagree with you, but that he's like a number 3 because he's like an average pitcher. But if you're a contending team, you need better than Roark to be your number 3. You know, like, look, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Okay, yes. But, like, he is an average pitcher. I'm with you. Man, as weird as it is to say, I'm not, like, Roark might be in the best spot, although that's probably doing Boston too dirty.
Well, I think the Washington, Boston, and the current Yankees setup, I think there's arguments to be made on this one, right?
Yeah, they're all close. You're right with the current Yankees setup, especially.
Full Yankees is like so much better than the other teams, but we're not full Yankees. We're missing like arguably their 3 best hitters.
I still feel kind of queasy about going into Boston with a pitcher like Roark, so I think I would probably choose Cobb.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you on that point in the slightest. Again, I think it's really, really close up here, which is, again, I actually don't think Brault's out of play either, to be honest with you.
I was going to say
that. I don't want to go up against Suarez and Castellanos with him, but Suarez, while he's all right now, has not had a great year. And Castellanos is like 0 for 20 or something like that.
Their lineup just like is not that good. It's got like some good hitters in it. Like, I think the White Sox lineup is significantly better than the Reds.
Yeah, I mean, the White Sox lineup, when firing, is really, really scary. I will say this, that Brault's got 3 decent starts this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say how many of them have come against Milwaukee.
Just 1 this time. I mean, he was fine in the first outing, but he only threw 37 pitches.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
I think the wind's blowing out today here as well, but it's Pittsburgh, so you can deal with the wind more here than you could in some of these other parks.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the King call more, but sure, they're very much one and the same.
Beautiful. Okay. Honestly, gun to head, I'm taking King, and I'm just going to load up on good offensive players today.
Part of me thinks like going King Cobb is like not crazy here.
It's not, but with how bad Pittsburgh is, if Castillo has a good day, because we still know he's really good, and he goes out and drops like a 24 spot like he did against Milwaukee. If you don't use him, God, are you far behind?
Yeah, and I used him that day too. So I'll put it like this: if I were making like 1 lineup, I'm obviously using Castillo. 3 lineups, probably Castillo, and 3-3. But if I were making like 150, I wouldn't use him in 150.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I got you. All right, so I think I'm Castillo King, gun to head right now. Who are you?
I'll ride that. I'm down with Castillo King.
Right. I honestly, I truly do believe this today, that of all the starting pitchers up here not named Luis Castillo, like, I would bet good money nobody scores over 14. So if I get 7 points out of King and that allows me to get all the offense that I want, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at that point with King, if he like goes 2 innings, 5 Ks, you're like, take his ass out.
Yeah, this guy's pitched 3 to 3.2 innings in every single appearance this year. You're not expecting big upside right here, but he's also got almost as many double-digit performances as everybody else on the board. So, and I don't know, that extra 3-4K, man. Now you get to get the, you get to cruise over the outfield. You get to take a Juan Soto if you want. You get to take a Biggio. Teoscar Hernandez, who's having a great season. You can easily get him in your lineup and not worry about it. He's having one of the better seasons in baseball.
He crushed me last night, man. Like, his late home run absolutely destroyed me.
I mean, it's a weird night, right? Martin Perez is pitching a no-hitter. I went to bed. Did Kershaw end up getting his? I figured he didn't even finish the game.
No, Kershaw gave up a single in like the 6th. He was getting into a little bit of trouble with like walks and stuff. His pitch count was high, and then in the 6th or 7th, he gave up a single. And man, it was funny. I would have messaged you because like I was like, in order to like cash, especially after that Teoscar and then Gurriel home run in the 10th or 11th inning, I was like in the cash. That put me out of the cash. I still had Kershaw on 2 of my lines, but like mostly everyone had Kershaw. I was like rooting for the no-hitter so hard because that was the only way I was going to get in the cash. He gave up a single and it was over.
Yeah, such is life, right?
Let me ask you this though, like, because there are a bunch of good offenses on this slate. It sounds like Washington might be your favorite.
I don't know if Washington's my favorite necessarily, but my favorite is to go after the Washington-Atlanta game. I've been sitting here kind of debating back and forth between, like, again, I'm not going to use Baltimore because I'm using King. Doesn't mean they can't get to their bullpen. It would be kind of a unique build to use Baltimore and use King. I also do. I respect Alex Cobb. I don't think he's a very good DFS pitcher, but of all the starting pitchers going there, he's probably having the best season, which tells you a lot about today's pitching slate. So I don't mind using like a LeMahieu, even though he was only 1 for 5 yesterday. I watched most of that game. He hit the ball hard 3 other occasions. It was just a day where you hit the ball at people. That shit happens in baseball.
Yeah. So using King and Baltimore is definitely not something I would do in cash games. But in tournaments, I don't hate it because, like you said, King's only going to go 3 innings. My biggest problem with it is that the Yankees' bullpen is good. So, like, you're not picking on a weak bullpen.
Yeah, and I'm not doing it. So please don't take me as like that's, we're just spitballing here, guys. That's not the main reason you want to go after it. I think Voth is probably the worst pitcher on the slate. And I have no respect for Tommy Malone, who, again, he had a nice start earlier this year, too, against he had 2 back-to-back starts against Washington and Baltimore. So, and I'm probably not going to load up on Washington, but 2 or 3 pieces. Like, for example, Trey Turner is just having an incredible season. I want him on my roster today. He's got huge upside, inside the park home run yesterday. He thought it was gone. So did you watch the replay of that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, he's so fast.
Oh, my God, right? He makes fast people look not fast.
Yeah, it's fun watching some of these guys run. Like, he's just so fast. And I was watching Ohtani score on a Trout double from first the other day. And he's also so fast, but in a completely different way because his strides are so long. It's fun watching these elite athletes,
Yeah. In a 3-entry max type of scenario, I'll probably use Trey Turner twice and then maybe use a Sander Bogarts once.
Yeah. I don't know if every stack is in play on this slate. Boston is not one that like sticks out to me against Roark, but I mean, surely they're in play. We've talked about Roark. I mean, yeah, Cincinnati, like they're all in play. All these pitchers can get lit up.
Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll take the Bogarts thing back. I'd probably do 2 Trey Turners and 1 Dansby Swanson because I'm going to have a lot of Atlanta against both. And this game's got nice hot weather in Atlanta. Winds blowing out to left center. Decent winds too, double-digit miles per hour. I like this game for offense.
Okay, so 2 things actually. Is Acuna back today?
Still listed as day-to-day.
Okay.
Expected to return Friday against the Nationals, so we expect him back today, which makes Atlanta better. It's also like what you talk about as far as intangibles go. It definitely probably puts a smile on the Braves' face to get their best player back or second best player, depending on how you want to argue him and Freeman.
Yeah. So the other thing I just wanted to point out is that always when we talked about this the other day, like if you are in debate between a road team and a home team, you obviously want the road team because they're going to get that extra at bat, even if they're destroying. And it's even more pertinent today because the games are already shorter. Do you agree?
Yeah, it is. On a coin flip situation, especially.
Yeah. So I do like Washington here. Like the reason I like Washington is because they have maybe my 2 favorite hitters on the slate in Turner and Soto.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love starting with that stack right there. And this is another reason I like King because I get Trey Turner and Juan Soto. And we've had a lot of good value plays on DraftKings this year. And don't get me wrong. If you want to get down to like a Nick Markakis or an Aaron Hicks, like those guys are also pretty good and a little bit too cheap. You can happily use one of them in this situation. But Juan Soto and Trey Turner are a lot better than Markakis and Hicks.
Yeah, for sure.
They're better than Markakis and Hicks more so than Roark is better than King.
Yeah. They're better than Markakis. Yes.
Okay, so you can easily start with these guys, and you still can get multiple other studs in your lineup. So if you want to go over to third base, and like let's say I like LeMahieu again today. Again, I watched all of his at-bats. He was good yesterday.
One thing I just want to also point out, because this could throw a wrench in it, I'm seeing that Davey Garcia could be pitching for the Yankees here.
Okay, well that would definitely change some things.
Because it's a doubleheader, and he was good. He's like one of their like better He's also 4K. I mean, wow, he'd be even more of a lock. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I mean, if this guy's your pitcher, this is the easiest play of the day right here, right? You just play him with Castillo, and again, that'll probably be the chalk bill, but you don't always need to be totally different in baseball, right?
Well, be different offensively. I'd never mind like using chalk pitchers and being different offensively. Yeah, that Garcia is like really good. They would not include him in a Clevenger deal.
Okay, so that's a great note. Thanks for bringing that up. I would much rather roster him at 4K than King. The upside is quite a bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Although then he becomes chalk, whereas King, again, no, I'm not playing King to get more points than those other guys. I'm playing him to score 5 or less points, but to get all the offense that I want.
That's why you don't care that Garcia is chalk. Like it doesn't like King. You're not using King thinking he's going to score a lot. So you don't really want to use King. He's just like the lesser of all evils almost.
Yeah, if you want to be different today too, throw in one Pittsburgh guy because nobody's going to use Pittsburgh players against Castillo for good reason. But if you like an Adam Frazier or something, go nuts with it. As far as using guys from Cincinnati so we can get through this quickly, Brault's not a scrub, but you can definitely talk me into Suarez, for example, who mashes lefty. He's got extra base hits in 3 straight games. I'm not going to be like all in on him, but we still know he's a good player.
The one guy I would use from Pittsburgh if I were using a one-off would be Brian Reynolds, who looks good right now.
He said Brian Reynolds, guys, not Ryan Reynolds from Van Wilder.
Correct.
He had a nice night last night. Broke out of his slump.
Just had a baby.
All right. You got that working for you. So other than that, is there anybody from Cincinnati besides, and again, if you want to use Castellanos against the lefty, I understand it. He just, on a slate like this with so many options, I'm not looking for the guy who's slumped.
Agreed, but also this goes like, so you talked about like the chalk build of Garcia and Castillo. I don't think people are going to stack Cincinnati here, and I don't think they're out of play. They're just not the most optimal stack. Do you agree?
Right, because they're not great. They're up against a lefty with, they pinch hit a bunch of their guys sometimes. It's not a good ballpark compared to like the other ballparks in play today are all very hitter friendly. So if you're trying to be different on a 4-game slate, I can completely understand that. I'd be more likely to use like a Suarez Castellanos, like 2-man stack, but throw in whatever their lineup looks like today. I can understand that.
Yeah, for sure. It's all it is.
As far as GPPs go, I'm in on Washington and Atlanta. I would probably enter a 3-entry max today and just stack this game 3 different occasions. And then, fill in with a Yankees piece here and there or something like that.
I actually think the Washington side goes lower owned, and I love that because I like that side more.
I mean, yeah, sign me up. I like both sides. So for me, I'm all over this game. You got Acuna in the mix. Azuna's smoking hot right now. Eaton's day to day. We'll see what happens there. Duvall had 3 homers the other day. You had a variety of places you can go. Riley's been great. Take Turner out once and go with Dansby Swanson, who's having an excellent year. Riley is extremely affordable right here. Howie Kendrick has excellent numbers against lefties and has owned Malone in his career, so you can rock and roll right there. I mean, there's just so many things I like about this game.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Kendrick, I'm not like going out of my way to get a Asdrubal Cabrera, but you can switch it up with him there occasionally. And of course, I'll probably back and forth between Kendrick and Freeman.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm with you there. I like both of them here. What's not to like?
Exactly. Okay, so we move on to the next game, which is Toronto against Boston. Great pitching matchup of Zach Godley against Tanner Roark. Godley has also been anything but Godley lately. So, your Toronto boys, they got rolling last night. I know you love a team that gets rolling late after being almost no hit by Martin Perez for whatever it was, 7 innings.
They are also definitely in play here, like for sure.
Yeah, Godley's had some nice parts this season and some terrible parts. So I don't know which guy shows up today, but it's been a lot more bad than good in recent memory.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an interesting career, to say the least. I remember, he was a total gas can, the first year he was up. And then I picked him up next year in fantasy in every league. He was phenomenal for, a full season. And then it's been mostly bad since then.
There was a point, 3 years ago when we were making vids where he was, consistently, 9,500.
Yeah, he was very good for a little while. I had some injury issues, and they have definitely tarnished him since then.
Yep.
Is there anybody specifically on Toronto that you're trying to pick out?
No, and that's my problem with Toronto. I don't really love anyone on them, to be honest.
So I do like Biggio, who, again, had been in a little bit of a slump, and then he walked twice yesterday and hit a double later in the game. So if I was to play anybody from Toronto, he'd probably be the number one guy I'm looking. He's also very good.
He's very good. He's their leadoff hitter right now, too. He's also very expensive. I mean,
He is, which is again why we love the 4K guys from New York today, is because you can play a bunch of these guys.
Sure.
And again, Teoscar Hernandez is having a great season.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, ultimately, we broke down like the AL MVPs the other day, and it's hard to look at him because Toronto isn't very good, but his numbers are like right up there.
I feel like a lot of his numbers come from like individual games. Like he has massive individual games and then not so much other games. So maybe I'm wrong there.
Well, he's in a couple of big games. I think he has 2 multi-home run games this year, if I remember correctly. So again, he's not the AL MVP, but if you just purely look at the numbers of a lot of these guys, his numbers are almost as good as, not quite to the Abreu and Trout level, but like right below them.
His numbers are similar to Franmil Reyes.
Yeah. I mean, those are some of the guys we're talking about. Just to reiterate, though, he is not my AL MVP. Gurriel's another one. He is hot right now. So a lot of, interest in rostering him. He also steals bases and hits for powers, which is what DK rewards.
Yep, he's hit a late homer last night. Both those guys homered. And I also like that they added VR, too. We talk about VR now hitting in the middle of this lineup, a guy with big-time power speed.
Yeah, he does with DK rewards. He may not steal 50 bases like he has before, but that's only because he's not on base enough to do it. He runs when he's on there.
He's solid.
Yeah, I love VR and GPPs almost daily because he's a guy who's like 0 for 4 3Ks, 0 for 4 3Ks, a home run, 2 singles, 2 stolen bases.
So the thing that I love about him that I know you love about him, when he gets on, he runs. Like he runs.
To the point that part of the reason he's not in Milwaukee anymore is he would run them out of games. But you know what? That's aggressive for my DFS points, which is the main thing I care about.
Yep.
All right. And going back to the whole idea, we talked about Tanner Roark. Not having a great season, but we know Roark has been like a borderline all-star before. So I don't hate the Boston guys. I just am not going out of my way to specifically to roster Boston guys today.
That's why I was surprised you said you'd roster Bogarts.
He's had good numbers off of Roark before, so I thought about that earlier. But I'd still rather have Dansby Swanson in my Atlanta stack.
So, yeah, I agree. So Boston, to me, reminds me of Cincinnati here. Like, they're both in play, certainly, because there's 4 games, and both these teams have guys that can hit home runs, which ultimately will win you tournaments. But they're not the most optimal on the slate because that belongs to Washington and Atlanta.
Agreed. And then talking about New York and Baltimore real quick. As far as New York goes, like, you can get me on board with Luke Voigt. Another guy had a couple of decent at-bats yesterday, ripped a double, hard hit out, couple of walks.
He's good.
Yeah, this guy's a hitter.
Yeah, he's good. Him and LeMahieu, 1-2. I love when I do 2-man stacks. I love going 1-2 in the order, like when I can. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, I will have a Voigt LeMahieu, like 2-man stack at some point today, probably mixed in with like a full Washington or full Atlanta stack or something like that.
Yeah, because a lot of times what I do is, when I'm stacking a certain team, if I do a 5-man stack, let's say I do a wrapper on like 7, 8, 9, 1, 2. Then I'll go another like 1-2 of, in my other, like in a mini stack or whatever. And I love that.
Yeah, Urshel is also starting to heat back up too with 3 straight 2-hit games. So I could include him in there. He's not like necessarily back-to-back with them, but it doesn't always have to be that way. He's pretty good too.
Yeah, so New York is another one kind of like Boston and Cincinnati. Do you agree?
Kind of, yes. Only I still there's something about New York, even without all their guys, like you just always feel like they're about to go off.
Yeah, so I like New York more than those other ones too. It sounds like you do as well.
Yeah, I think for me, Washington and Atlanta are going to be the 2 teams I stack a lot of, with an occasional piece of Toronto, and then a little bit of New York Yankees. I play a lot of 3 entry max when it comes to baseball. I'll be heavy Washington, Atlanta with a subtle sprinkling of Toronto and the Yankees.
And I like this slate too, but it also starts like kind of like it's not like, oh, you get hours of this slate before the other slate starts. The other slate starts soon after. So I don't think you need to go like so super heavy on this one,
For sure. And when I talk about like sprinkling them in, like grab a Voigt and LeMahieu. And then I got Riley, Turner, Soto. And then I can come over here. Like if Acuna's in the lineup, I can rock and roll with him. I can throw in an Eaton if he's in the lineup. Duvall if he makes the lineup, for example, and still get, my catcher in there.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. When you ask for a 4K pitcher like that, because Castillo's not even that expensive.
Yeah, and if you need a one-off from Boston, Jackie Bradley Jr. is really kind of heated up. He's 3,100. And that could be a subtle way to be different. Like if you want to take a common stack and just throw in Jackie Bradley Jr., it could just be that one-off that does the difference for you.
I'm with you there.
So that's about what I got for today, guys. If we could say anything, I think we're both kind of in the same boat here. Castillo is just kind of hard not to roster. Then we're probably going to play the 4K guy from the New York Yankees, whether that's King or what's his face?
Davey Garcia.
Thank you.
He's actually good, so.
Right. We love the two-man stack of Turner and Soto because they're both phenomenal.
Yeah, what's not to like about them, really?
Yeah, and then we like the Washington-Atlanta game with a sprinkle of the Yankees.
Yep, sounds about right to me.
Yeah, and a little bit of Toronto. Specifically for me, Gurriel is the guy that I'm most interested in roster, and then I do like Biggio as well.
I think that, like, the Reds, Red Sox, and I'm going to throw the Blue Jays in there, like, all are – I think the Blue Jays actually get a lot of love, though, don't you?
They should get some. They always get more love than they should.
Yes.
They've been slumping. I know they rallied late last night, but that doesn't mean that they weren't getting hit by Martin Perez. Right. It had been like I looked yesterday. I feel like it'd been 4 or 5 days since they had scored more than 3 runs. So they are in a little bit of slump. Which, if you think they get a lot of love today, I'm definitely on board with the fade. And the other thing is, like, Godley has moments where he's pretty good. He has a couple of really nice starts this year. I'm not calling for it, but it's not crazy to think he pitches well.
No, see, I was thinking the exact same thing, and you hit the nail on the head, and I agree with you 100%. They always get more love than they should. People love rostering them because they're like the new toy to play with. They've got all those young kids, and people love that. I think they're more frustrating to roster than anything else.
Yeah, okay. It's only been 3-2. I mean, when was the last time they went off? Like, it's been a while since, like, they went off. They had some late rallies last night, but it's not an offense. It's like loading on the daily basis. Isn't it like when you look at the now they got upside because they can run and hit home runs.
Yes, they can hit home runs. They're like a worse version of the White Sox lineup, I think.
Sure, they're young, right? And a lot of these guys haven't developed yet. Like, everybody thinks Vlad's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, it's been almost a year now, and I wouldn't call him pathetic, but we haven't seen flashes of this, future Hall of Famer yet.
I mean, you look and see what, like, Luis Robert is doing for the White Sox, and you're like, where is that with Vlad? I mean, this guy looks like he's like an all-star already. Like, where's Vlad?
Acuna came up and was awesome day 2. You know what I mean? Like instantly, and has continued to do that ever since. Trey Turner came up and was instantly really, really good. Juan Soto was really good right away. Vlad's got, I'm going to guess, 120 games under his belt, maybe 100. And I mean, I wouldn't call him pathetic, but we haven't seen any flash of future Hall of Famer.
No, yeah, he's not pathetic, but he's certainly no all-star. He's like an average major leaguer.
Yeah.
He's also slow.
What's that?
He's also slow and already got moved to first base because he's like out of shape, which is like not a good look at all.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he won't become great. We're not saying that. We're just like, we have a decent.
I'm a little worried at this point, not going to lie.
And what do we have for experience here? We got 599 at-bats at the major league level. That's a sample size. He's batting .269 with 20 home runs. I mean, that is a full year. That's, again, it's not putrid, but is this lighting the world on fire? You're right. He doesn't steal bases. He strikes out at a 2-to-1 clip to how he walks. He's got 34 doubles, which is, again, not terrible, but not a world beater yet. Not saying he won't be that, but he gets too much love for what he produces.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, next year he could be, completely have turned this around, and it's going to be a surprise to no one. But yeah, you watch these other guys. You're right. I was thinking about this last night when I was watching Luis Robert, who is amazing. And I was like, where is this with Vlad?
So, anyways, all right, guys, we'll wrap it up. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.